Hey guys, welcome back to another shared news from home. Happy Friday. We are live today to talk about all the latest in Bachelor Nation. As always, I'm your host, Gabby Ganta, and I'm joined by the lovely Avery Grooms today. Hi, Avery. How's it going?
Hello, it's going great. Happy Friday, Gabby.
Yeah, any fun plans for the weekend? I know it's crazy hot where we live, but that means it's summertime, right?
Yep, no fun plans on the weekend. I unfortunately work this weekend, but my friends who have normal jobs are wanting to do something, so I'm gonna see if I can fit in some time, but we'll see.
Yeah, you definitely should get some rest and have some fun this weekend. All right, you guys, let's kick things off now with some updates about Chris Harrison's exit from the Bachelor franchise. There's some new details in here that I think are going to be interesting for you guys. So, this has been an ongoing story as we keep learning more about what happened behind the scenes, and new sources have come forward to talk about where some of the facts have been wrong in the last few weeks. So, an anonymous source told Variety recently that Chris's payout was not the $25 million number that has been circulating, but instead just $10 million. So that would be about 2 years worth of work for him because I guess he gets about 5 million a year for working as the host on The Bachelor. So, and even more details with that, I think it was a $9 million payout. And then there was about $1 million in contractual fees where since they were breaking, an early contract, they had to pay that as well. But a significantly smaller number than what people have been talking about recently, which was almost shocking, right? Because 25 million is an insane amount. I personally think 10 million is also still insane, but definitely a different number than we had been hearing recently. So, in addition to all of that, we were learning a little bit more about what was really going on behind the scenes in this new Variety article. So, it was apparently Chris's intention always to come back to the show, continue hosting, sooner than later, right? But events really kept snowballing in the direction of him not returning. As we've talked about here briefly before, Katie Thurston was a major force in not bringing him back for her Bachelorette season. I think it talked about some sources who, this was kind of a rumor where Katie wasn't going to feel comfortable if Chris was the host of her season, but a source has come forward confirming that all of that's true. They had a personal conversation where she wasn't going to be the Bachelorette if Chris was going to be hosting because of all the controversy in the recent months, especially on Matt James's season, because she was a contestant on that season, right? So that's kind of crazy to hear the fact that she was going to be the Bachelorette. They probably had so many things under control and ready to go already. And then they really had to pivot, right? Because it did seem like the franchise wasn't, they didn't hate the idea of bringing Chris back, but there was a few people that kind of kept saying no. And things just kept happening where it made sense for Chris to not come back. And then they sort of rushed into this deal of just getting rid of him, kind of, wiping everything clean, signing some papers, giving him some money, and letting him go so they could turn this new direction, right? So, first of all, I want to hear from you, Avery. We weren't sure what was going to happen for a long time. Was Chris ever going to come back? Was he going to leave forever? So, are you surprised that they settled on a payout after hearing how much Chris really did want to come back and how hard he tried?
I am surprised. I honestly was shocked to hear he wasn't going to come back. I figured it wouldn't be soon. We obviously aren't seeing him on Katie's season. I didn't think we would see him on Michelle's season or Paradise, but I figured by the time The Bachelor came back around that that's when he would make his appearance again. So I was honestly shocked that they ended up letting him go because even before the apology, I figured that the franchise wanted to hold on to it. He wanted to hold on to it. But, after the apology video, we really saw things continue to spiral downward. And it turns out to be that they wanted to let him go. And then it turned into this whole settlement. And it's just really sad that he had to go on these terms. And after all the dedication and work he's put in, he just didn't really get enough, not recognition, but like a good, proper goodbye. Although, there was so much controversy amidst the whole thing. So it's just a very messy situation. And it's just sad to see it all play out in the way it did.
Yeah, exactly. You put that really well. And I think in the recent weeks, since we've heard about this settlement, there's been a few members of Bachelor Nation, former contestants, and people who seem to be really close friends with him since their time on the show. They've outwardly spoken saying they're really upset about this. They never wanted to see Chris go. Also the same thing that you were saying, that it sucks that if he's going to leave, it kind of has to be on these rough terms. So there's definitely some members of Bachelor Nation that have that stance as well. There's also, of course, lots of people who are happy about this, but mostly because of the reason that the direction is going, pretty well so far with the new hosts and things like that. I think when all of this was happening a few months ago, there's probably a shared news video of me saying this when we were sort of predicting what was going to happen. I was also surprised. I was thinking Chris might come back down the line, like you said, not anytime soon, but in a few seasons, maybe next year, something like that. But then, when you think about it, once you're in this new routine, you have new hosts that are doing just as well, and you really like this fresh take on it, it's hard to go back and kind of take
Mhm.
steps backward, right? So, for that reason, I also understand why they kind of just wanted to let him go and start fresh, because it's not like he was just signed on. He's been here for 20 years. So, it's a nice, shiny career. He could just kind of sign off and move on with his life. So, next up, we're about to talk about a preview of Katie's episode 3 that you don't want to miss. But before we get into it, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos or any future lives like this. All right, let's talk about next week with Katie then. We've had some amazing episodes so far, 2 awesome ones already. So they have been teasing us with a clip of Nick Viall's appearance on the season, and we are going to get it this week. The episode description says, quote, on the group date, former Bachelor Nick Viall helps the men share some of their personal stories. Moved by their honesty, Katie courageously opens up about her own story in a heart-wrenching moment. So we've already seen a lot of deep moments from Katie in just the first 2 episodes, right? We're getting a little bit more of her background, her family history, what really makes her her. So Avery, what do you think this could be about? This, story she's going to open up about next week.
Gosh, I don't know. It could really be about a lot of things. It's hard to say because we've already had a crying moment, and that was already in episode 2. Her and Greg got super deep about their families. So I'm going to have to assume maybe it's something about that or a whole nother story we don't even know about her. But I'm really excited because I'm here for these deep moments. It's still early days, but it just allows for so much character development and growth so early on in the season.
Yeah, that's really true. I think, yeah, it might be about her dad because that is kind of the main, thing that she's had to struggle with in the last few years that sort of shaped her
Hmm.
and is definitely, a deep, heart-wrenching story. And I think so far she's only told that to Greg. I'm sure the other guys, if they watched her season, they sort of heard about it during her date with Matt, but I'm sure this moment is where she can kind of really open up to it and tell these new guys for the first time about her experience with that. So it might be with that, or it could be with something totally different that we don't know about Katie because we're only a few weeks in. We don't know a ton about her yet, but I'm excited to see that. And I think it's going to make the guys, fall for her even more. So yeah, again, we have Nick Viall on this date, which is, I don't know, kind of random a little bit, but he's, a fun character in Bachelor Nation. So which of the guys do you think that Nick is going to like the most? Because he's going to meet all of them. He's going to kind of be leading this group date. But is there any names that stick out to you that might vibe with Nick, where he might, give some Katie some advice to keep one around more than another?
Yeah, I mean, Nick is a really fun character. He always seems to stay super involved in Bachelor Nation, but he's good at it. He's not someone who's too annoying. So I don't know. I really like listening to his podcast, and based off of his personality on that, I could see him really vibing with Connor, Greg, and John, maybe. Definitely not Carl. I feel like they would totally clash and he would see right through him. So basically, any guy with like good intentions and just, I don't know, is authentic because that's definitely not Carl.
Yeah, that's very true. Carl sort of came about as a bit of a villain last. episode, right? Because he was kind of stirring the pot for no reason, which nobody likes. And I love that so many of the guys, he kind of backed himself into a corner, and so many of the guys were really calling him out on it. And he just looks so embarrassed and guilty. So maybe after that experience, if he's still around after this rose ceremony, then when he meets Nick, maybe he'll like cool down a little bit, stop stirring the pot, and just be normal. Or Katie's gonna see right through him, send him home. But that's a good point. I think the few guys who we've seen so far that are genuine, like you said, Greg, Connor, they just seem so unproblematic and fun. John is another good one.
Mhm.
Even Hunter too, those few guys who definitely seem good at this point. We can learn more about them, I'm sure, and maybe see their true colors a little bit more, but I think they are similar Nick types as well. So, if you're tuning in right now to our Shared News Live, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday afternoon. And of course, we want to know your guys' thoughts. So, let us know in the comments. What do you think about the new Chris Harrison deal? Some of the details we talked about that earlier. Or if you're just joining us, we're talking about Nick Viall and Katie's episode coming up on Monday, which is just a few days away. What do you think that's going to look like? This group date is going to be all about sharing personal, deep stories. So, who's your standout so far? Who's your pick for Katie's final pick? Let us know in the comments, and we're going to get to a few of those comments and questions by the end of this live. All right, we do get a little bit more to look forward to as well from this episode description. It also says, quote, Katie literally flips head over heels for her one-on-one date with Michael A., who opens up with a deeply heartfelt story of how he decided to follow his heart to New Mexico, and drama begins to boil over in the house. Is someone still here for the wrong reasons? So that is a very exciting description. It seems like they're talking about the moment in the off-roading car where it kind of flips over, right? I think we've seen that clip a few times. So I'm pretty sure that is the one they're talking about for next week. We see it in the promo. And apparently Michael A. is going to be the one on that date. So he was the one that also just didn't get a date last week. He wasn't on the group date. He didn't get the one-on-one. And everyone, the guys themselves were saying, oh man, like that's not looking good for you, bro. But when he talked to Katie, she reassured him that it's because he was honestly one of her favorites and wasn't, questioning their relationship at all. So at least we know he's the one that has this next rose ceremony, right? Because he's going to get that one-on-one. So are you glad to see Michael A. on this one-on-one date with Katie?
Yeah, I am. I mean, we only know so much about him. We know he has a kid. He seems like a very innocent, likable guy so far. And I think it's always important for the contestants with children to have a one on one earlier on, just because they do have bigger priorities at home, a kid. And I think Katie knows that too, that it's very important to know if she should keep him here or if she shouldn't waste his time because he also has a kid back at home. So far, he seems like a very safe contestant. He doesn't really rub me the wrong way. If anything, he's way too nice. But I hope we get to see more of his personality and just more adversity within him. But so far, he's not my cup of tea. I wouldn't like him personally, but I definitely see him as like more of a front runner for Katie.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point. I forgot that he was the one that had a son, I think. So that is a great reason to bring him on the next one-on-one, after Greg immediately as soon as she can to see if there's something there or if she can send him home. And that was a reason why he was getting a little bit more nervous last week because he was saying, like, what if there is nothing here? I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my kids' time. So definitely glad to see him get this one-on-one date. I mean, just even from this photo, it looks like it's going pretty well. I think they're
Hmm.
gonna have a wild ride in that off-roading car, and honestly neither of them really seem like too much of adventurous people. I guess kind of Katie. Michael's definitely seems like
Yeah.
the nerdy type, which as we've talked
Hmm.
about so far on this season is definitely Katie's type. So for they definitely might get along for that reason. And then, as well as we were talking about earlier, with all the drama that's going to start in the house, as it said in the description, who do you think is going to be the guy that starts all the drama based on last week and the new promo as well?
Well, the new promo, I mean, based off of last week, first, definitely Carl. But now that we're looking at the new promo, it's looking like Thomas is going to be getting into some drama. And it looks like Hunter confronts him about it. And this is just interesting because so far we've seen Carl point fingers, but they haven't been at anyone. And it's looking like it's conveniently going to line up with Thomas because it looks like some people also have dirt on him. I don't know where this came from because after the first two episodes, he seemed like a safe bet. Katie was super into him, but it looks like the guys have heard otherwise. I guess he may have said something along the lines like he wants to be the Bachelor. And in my opinion, I'm sure those are everyone's thoughts, maybe, but it's too early to even be saying that. You definitely also shouldn't be saying that to other contestants because that's going to start problems, as we know. So I definitely think he took an L by mentioning that because it's just too early to be thinking that way.
Yeah, it's so early, right? And we're going to get into some clips. We're going to take a look at those in just a minute so we can kind of break down a little bit more of exactly what's going to happen. So definitely stick around for that if you're tuning in right now. And of course, drop some comments. Join the conversation with us. Let us know who you think is going to be the main villain of this season. Who's your pick to win? You know, who are some of the amazing nice guys that you're looking forward to? Drop those in the comments. Who would you date? You know, who's perfect for Katie? Are you excited for Michael's little one-on-one here? Let us know. We're going to get to some of your comments and questions at the end of this live. And that's always so exciting because we want to hear from our other Bachelor Nation members. So definitely give us a comment. And I totally agree with you, Avery. I think Carl was certainly the one that seemed to start everything last week. And even in the promo was definitely skewing more toward Thomas in the fact that he was coming about as this new villain. But there were some moments when guys were talking badly about other guys and they were showing Carl's face. So I feel like Carl, you know, he hasn't slid under the bus. Maybe Thomas has more of the attention and spotlight on him next week, but I feel like Carl, if he makes it through, is definitely still going to be on the guys' radar. And I am still waiting for the moment. I think we've talked about this even prior to Katie's season starting. That quote where someone says, you know, I'm not here for the bromance or the friends, I'm here for followers, right? They keep kind of editing that specific sentence clip in like different ways. I think it's even in the next promo, but they kind of take out the followers part. So I'm waiting to see exactly how that plays out in real life. Like I think when that moment happens, all of us shared news hosts and all of our, you know, followers who engage with us are going to be like, there's the moment it happened. And we can find out which guy said it and all of that. So it very well could be Thomas. Speaking of all of that guy drama and Thomas, let's take a look at the new promo that includes a huge moment for this season. We're going to take a look at a few clips here now. It looks like Thomas and Hunter are kind of going to be the ones going at it, but a lot of the guys back up Hunter. So let's take a look at this first clip.
Thomas's reputation is really crumbling. We're all tired of his lies and manipulation. Before the guys go on their group date, I'm gonna call him out. I'm done being kind.
Okay, so Hunter seems pretty upset here. He says, I'm done being kind. We're all tired of his lies and things like that. And it's only week 3, you know? It seems like this is a clip coming from the end of the season, considering, you know, how charged his language is in the fact that this has been going on forever. And from my perspective, and probably yours, it's like, I haven't seen anything bad from Thomas yet. So why do you think, you know, what's he talking about? Is it stuff going on behind the scenes that we haven't seen yet that Hunter is maybe mad about? Or what do you think is going on with Thomas here?
It must be something behind the scenes because I'm just watching this like, how did we get here? How did this all escalate so quickly? Like I said, Thomas seemed so unproblematic and he seemed like a safe bet, but there's clearly a side of him that we haven't seen that all the other guys have seen. And I guess Hunter's stepping up and is going to be the one who tells all.
Yeah, it does look like that. Let's take a look at the next clip and see how it does escalate.
Morning, gentlemen.
I might as well address this right now. So I talked to a lot of you guys yesterday about the situation with Thomas. I hear that conversations that are taking place with you and other people are the exact opposite.
Okay, so it seems like Hunter is confronting Thomas, but what he is doing is kind of backing himself up by starting it saying, I've talked to a lot of the guys in the house and we all agree that blah blah blah. So it's kind of better this way in like contrast to Carl, where he kind of came to the table with no evidence and nothing. Hunter's speaking up, but he's giving some grounds to it and kind of like bringing the receipts, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't give like so many great examples, but he is saying, conversations that are happening. So maybe Thomas is like flaunting, the fact that he's awesome or like wants to be the bachelor or maybe could be one day or something. Maybe he's talking like that with some of the guys that he thinks he's close to in the house. And then that probably raised some red flags. But let's see how else Hunter is going to confront him.
And it feels fraudulent. It feels almost like a campaign. Like you want to be bachelor, or I don't know what it is. Have you even considered that?
I would never do anything to hurt you.
I feel manipulated.
Okay, so a lot going on there. He does mention being bachelor, and then Hunter says he feels manipulated, like him personally. What do you think about just this back and forth here?
This is very interesting. Just the fact he called everyone in the house into one room to talk about Thomas, who also is in the room, is a very bold move. I guess this is a smarter way to go about it than Carl, which was very vague. It was just like, so-and-so said this, but he didn't mention any names. But Hunter's here just straight up calling out Thomas in front of everyone. And he's really put on the spot. So I'm interested to see how he responds to this, because this is like a very heavy moment and situation to be in. It looks like everyone's on Hunter's side here.
Yeah, I'm interested because in these clips, we're kind of just seeing Hunter and Thomas go back and forth a little bit, but I am curious to see when we watch this fully play out on Monday, if any of the other guys are going to back Hunter up with maybe some more examples, or if they're just going to come out and say some more supportive things, or, we have to take close note of which guys kind of come to Hunter's defense versus some maybe that come to Thomas's defense, or who kind of like try to shut down the fight. I think in these fight moments, whether it's the girls season or the guys season, depending on who like supports who or who tries to escalate things or deflate things, you get to know their personality a little bit more, right? That's why we kind of fell in love with Katie last season, because she was always the one to try to calm everything down, de-escalate the fights, like let everyone just like feel more empowered and happy, right? So I'm hoping like, Greg steps in and is like, okay guys, let's like not fight about this, like I could see that happening. All right, the guys are worried for Katie though, because when drama starts and people aren't there for the right reasons, which we've already seen last week, and that could be continuing, they're worried about Katie falling in love and getting heartbroken and things like that. So let's take a look at this next clip.
It just makes me really worry about what's going on with Katie. If you're positioning for something else, she's gonna get her heart broken, and I'm not okay with that. So is that your answer? Yes, you were thinking about being the bachelor. Is that what you're saying?
Okay, so he keeps kind of pressing him with the same question, and it seems like Thomas is going to sort of just keep dodging it and keep avoiding it, not to confirm or deny, which, normally means that it's probably true. And even in that clip, they showed a few of the other guys kind of nodding their heads and agreeing with Hunter. So it seems, the way they edited it. But I don't know. This is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm always, curious about why some of these guys are so concerned about other guys breaking Katie's heart. Like, honestly, if I was there, I would just try to focus on my relationship with Katie, because it's especially like this early on in the season, they don't even have a relationship with Katie yet. Like, especially Hunter, they haven't even had a big moment. So it's like, I would say my advice would be to just like focus on your relationship with her. If that's good enough, the other guys aren't going to matter. But then again, if you're living in a house with like 20 other guys that are dating your girlfriend, that's probably really hard. And you just have a lot like circulating in your mind about just being worried about, stuff that might not matter or seems like it matters. But what do you think about this?
No, I agree with you. I feel like those guys who do get involved in other guys' drama are the ones who end up in a very tangled web, because then they just end up talking about another guy when they could be using their time more wisely and developing a stronger relationship. And it kind of really just backfires and both people in the situations usually end up going home. And especially like the fact that Hunter took it upon himself to like call out Thomas, like now this is going to be his whole theme, and his whole conversation with Katie is all going to be about Thomas, which is great if he's not here for the right reasons, but that probably shouldn't be his main focus point. I mean, at the end of the day, the truth always comes out, and Katie will figure that out if he is. But like I said, what a way to be put on the spot. I mean, this is like a conference meeting. Everyone's sitting down and waiting for Thomas's answer. And it's a very heavy question. I'm sure he did say that, but it was too soon to be talking like that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's take a look at this last clip to sort of see how this might end or what Thomas might say to this question.
Before coming here, I didn't know what to expect.
It's a non-answer.
I'm not asking you what you expected. Was being the Bachelor, was that a prerogative for you?
Okay, yeah. So again, kind of beating around the bush, circling around the question, which the guys aren't happy about. And you can see on his face, he's a little bit stressed, right? He doesn't know what to say because either he's caught in a lie or doesn't want to really get into it, or probably doesn't want to, burn bridges and not be friends with these guys or kind of start all of this in the house. So I know in a few other edits or versions of this promo, the clips show him responding by saying, yes, that was a thought that had crossed my mind or something like that. So they don't show it right here, but that could be his response, after this clip, or that could be a response that he says to a different question, but they're making it seem like he answers with the word yes, So on Monday night, we might see him say, yes, that is something that crossed my mind, or he might say something totally different, like, absolutely not, like, how could you guys say this, like, who is accusing me of this, and then kind of go in a different direction and kind of clear this up immediately. I don't know. It honestly could go both ways based on this clip, but like you were saying earlier, Thomas has been unproblematic up until this point, and it kind of is out of the blue for the viewers a little bit. But, what do you think exactly happened so that these guys started to gang up on him? Do you think it was like actually a conversation where he mentioned being the Bachelor? Or, I mean, he's one of the cutest guys there, I think. So are the guys just really threatened by him and kind of want to like create this story around him?
I definitely think it had to be a conversation he had with someone else, and maybe that person went and told other people, and it all just kind of circulated around, and that's why they ended up having this whole sit down meeting. In this last clip, it definitely seems like he's going to be tiptoeing around the question. I'm really interested to see how he responds to the group, but mainly to Katie. I wonder if he'll tell them one thing and tell her another, because we all know once she hears about this, she's going to confront him. And I don't know, I'm pretty nervous for him, because in this moment, he looks very scared. And this is probably one of the worst situations to be in, because it just equally puts him as a target for being there for the wrong reasons. If he just wants to be the Bachelor, that just shows he's not even there or trying for Katie, and it's only week 3. So I don't know. I did like him at the start, but now I'm like, I don't know about you, Thomas.
Yeah, I really liked him at the start too. I remember he was the very first one that came out of the limo, and I was like, that's my pick. He's my favorite. I hope, nothing goes wrong. But of course, here we are, week 3, and he's already kind of the villain with being thrown under the bus. So I didn't expect this, but I don't know. We're going to have to see. Another guy that I sort of had my eyes on was Aaron. I think he's really cute, but I thought he was going to be the one who seemed amazing at first, but then was kind of like shady, the villain with like wrong intentions, just because like how he carries himself a little bit. I'm not totally sure why that was like my thought. But last episode, he was kind of the hero, right? When Katie was kind of feeling down, she literally went to him for comfort and to try to figure out the situation where people weren't there for the right reasons, when I was thinking like it was Aaron. But I don't know. We're going to have to see how this all plays out. Whatever does end up happening with Thomas and the other guys, Katie herself has promised that next week is going to be shocking. We saw the start of the cocktail party last week where she was wearing that green dress at the end of last week's episode, but we didn't get to see the rose ceremony yet. So the Bachelor herself took to Twitter to explain. She tweeted, quote, "The next rose ceremony shouldn't be rushed. The wait will be worth it. Witness a shocking first. See you next Monday." So, as we know, Katie has been live tweeting all of the episodes so far. And this kind of reminds me of something that Chris Harrison used to tweet when he would live tweet the shows, because it just seems like, oh, he's trying to get us excited for next week and keep us on our toes. Like, there's going to be a shocking first, right? But since we don't have Chris Harrison, we've got Katie sort of tweeting this out. So, what do you think is going to be this shocking first? We know we've had so many years and so many seasons of the show. What could possibly be different that we haven't seen before?
Yeah, honestly, what could possibly be different? I don't know. This season is already very different. My guess will have to be in terms of a rose ceremony. Maybe we'll see the most guys we've ever seen sent home in one rose ceremony. Maybe all these people who might be problematic are going to go. The whole Thomas thing could lead to a whole other thread of guys we didn't know were problematic. We didn't even know Thomas was problematic last week, and now we see this. So maybe it's just going to get really messy, and she's going to be like, no, no, no. And maybe that's why they ended up wrapping early.
Oh, that is a very good point. I did forget about the fact that they wrapped a little bit early. So, yeah, we have to think about that when it comes to the episodes that we're watching. That is a really good one. I want something like absolutely crazy and wild to happen. Like, I don't know, someone sending themselves home or someone showing up out of the blue. I know we're waiting for Blake to still show up. I don't think that's going to come as early as next week, but I don't know, maybe like Nick Viall like shows himself to the rose ceremony and like wants to date Katie now. Like I want something crazy like that.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, but I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see what this shocking first is. Okay, moving on now to some Caitlyn and Tayshia news. As we're currently enjoying Katie's season and loving our new hosts, Tayshia and Caitlyn, conversations have already begun circling as to whether they will return for Michelle Young's season. In an interview with Us Weekly, Caitlyn seemed on board. She said, "I mean, we had so much fun." Then Tayshia agreed. She also said, "So much fun, and if the opportunity presented itself, we would be there." And then Caitlyn said, "Hand in hand." So it seems like they are the dream team. They certainly loved filming this show. And it doesn't seem like a done deal yet, right? Tayshia kind of says, "Oh, if we got the opportunity, we'd love to, but it hasn't happened yet." So that still means it could be an option, and it seems like they would be on board. Katie herself has mentioned how helpful the two were on her season. She said, quote, "At that moment, I was at my lowest and really wanted to leave." So she's talking about, one of the low points in the season, which I'm sure we'll see in the coming weeks. And then she went on to say, "If it wasn't for the amazing women who have been bachelorettes before helping me navigate that, I probably would have left. And so I'm so thankful for all of them." So it seems like this all-female dynamic is working out really well, right? So how do you think maybe Michelle would do with them by her side as well?
I think it would be great to see them on Michelle's season as well. I mean, the whole dynamic of this season has already changed so much by having them as hosts. And, they're not just hosts, they're also mentors. So like Katie even said, they were such a huge help because they've been in her shoes and they can relate to her the most. So they probably have the most useful, valuable advice. And I think Michelle would love that as well. I think if it comes to a host, it should be someone in this case who has been in their position, because then they're also a mentor. And at the end of the day, that could potentially lead to more success for the lead and the contestants. So I think they should just keep going with all the bachelorettes. In terms of the Bachelor, maybe they could do the same thing with a couple previous guy contestants. We'll have to see on that one. But so far, so good with this. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I feel like people loved to see them after the first episode. So they should stay in my book.
Yeah, that's such a good point. If it's working well, why change it up, especially because just having those other bachelorettes who've done it before, they can give great advice. We've only even seen a few episodes, and Tayshia and Caitlyn haven't even really been a huge part of the episodes yet. They kind of accompany her on the dates and give her a little bit of advice here and there. But I think in the coming weeks, we're going to see even more of them helping Katie out during the times when she's struggling and things like that, as we've seen Chris Harrison do in the past. But I think these girls are going to be amazing at it as well. And Michelle is, such a down-to-earth, really fun woman as well. So I could definitely see her getting along with Tayshia and Katilyn and sort of just keeping that train going, right? This female empowerment dynamic trio, we're going to keep that going. Like you mentioned, it would be smart to do that for The Bachelor as well, although we haven't had some amazing Bachelor leads in the past few years. So like you said, I'm not sure exactly who they would bring back for that, but I'm sure they could figure something out, right? On that note, Bachelor in Paradise this year is set to have multiple different hosts, including some celebrities. So do we think if that goes well, depending on if that goes well or not, might that change who they choose to host for Michelle's season? Would they maybe run with doing some more multi-hosts and celebrities and stuff like that? Or do you think still, since it's the main Bachelorette season, they might stick with Tayshia and Katilyn no matter what?
I really hope they don't do multiple hosts. I feel like just based off of this list we got for Bachelor in Paradise, it seems kind of chaotic, kind of messy. It's kind of taking away from what the whole show's about. I'm sure having these, guest celebrity hosts aren't actually going to take away from the contestants, but it changes the tone of the show. It changes the dynamic. And I feel like when people watch a show for so long, they like consistency, especially with the host. And, we've obviously had this huge hiccup with Chris Harrison. I feel like we should just get on a new track and keep it that way. And so far, like I said, Katilyn and Tayshia has been solid. It's been successful. So I definitely think they should continue on to Michelle's season, not switching hosts because, she can't go to celebrity hosts as mentors like she can to like Tayshia and Katilyn. So definitely think they should keep them for her.
Yeah, that is a really good point. I think, especially with Bachelor in Paradise, there's just like so many people and so many different couples coupling up that it sort of makes sense to have more than one host, I guess you would say. But I also am like a little curious about how that's going to work, if it's going to work, because the celebrities and people they're having on are kind of like some crazy, out there personalities that who knows if they're going to mesh or not, right? So we are about to dive into, go ahead.
No, I totally agree with you. Like, who knows if they're gonna mesh, and like they're so like all over the place. None of these hosts are alike, which is great, but it's just I don't know how it's gonna go, and I don't know what idea they have in their minds. But just after seeing the list, I was kind of like, this isn't as exciting as they're making it sound. Like, I get why they're doing it, but I feel like they could have had a better approach, which would probably just be like Wells being the main Bachelor in Paradise host.
Yeah, definitely. I'm most excited for Wells and Sarah for sure out of that list. All right, you guys, we're going to dive into some questions and comments now. So if you've been watching our live this far and you have some thoughts, please join the conversation. Drop a comment right now. What are your thoughts on Michelle's season, our hosts, Tayshia and Katilyn? Would you love to see them again? Of course, we've also been talking about Katie's season. We're expecting a shocking first at the next rose ceremony. So definitely let us know what you think might happen, and we'll get into it and chat about it right now. All right, let's see. Miriam says, happy Friday, everyone, with some star emojis. Yes, we love this Friday energy. We are working right now and chatting about all things Bachelor Nation, but it's the weekend and we're just a few days away from Katie's third episode. We're already flying through the season, but I'm so excited for more content.
I know, I can't wait. I'm starting to wish it wasn't just every Monday. I wish it was like Monday, Tuesday, because they're already starting to leave us on those cliffhangers. And it's like, we have to wait another week for this.
Exactly.
All right, Tonya said 10 million is pretty cheap payout. I was expecting he would get 50 million plus, but 10 million is more than enough for me personally. I would take it. I agree. Personally, I would take it, but these numbers have been all over the place. We've seen so many different reports. At the end of the day, I feel like we're not going to know the truth in the amount or how it all came about. So it's very unknown. All I know is it was a huge number.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not bad, right? It's basically 2 years of pay is what they were saying. So if you could, not work for 2 years and still get paid for it, that's pretty good, especially since Chris is getting up there in age and has been doing this for a long time. Seems like a good move for him. All right, Tanya also said Chris might still dish details about Bachelor producers. I hope he does. That is true. A lot of people and sources were saying, the reason he got this much money or they kind of settled on this payment deal so quickly was because Chris has been the eyes and ears of this franchise for so long. He literally knows everything that's ever happened on the show, good and bad. And they kind of want to keep someone like that quiet, right? And happy, because otherwise their probably billion-dollar making, multi-million-dollar making show would not exist anymore if some of those things came out, probably, which is, concerning to hear, but that kind of always happens in the entertainment industry.
Yep. Very messy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
All right, Bachelor Nation POP said, I'm wondering if Katie opens up about an issue with consent with another guy off of the show. That would be interesting and also very informative. We don't really have these conversations on mainly a show like this that often. But it could be a lot of things. I really don't know. We were first saying family and her dad, but it could be something we don't even know about.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Since they're not afraid to talk about sex on this season, it could really be anything on that spectrum for sure. Let's see if we have any other questions and comments for today. Of course, thank you guys for tuning in live with us to chat about Bachelor Nation on this Friday afternoon. If you have any questions or comments like this, some theories you have brewing up in your mind about Katie's season or about the coming seasons, we're still looking forward to A Bachelor in Paradise and even Michelle's season. Not sure what's even to come after that yet still, but I mean, that's plenty of Bachelor content for us for the moment, right? Okay, let's see. We have another one from Miriam. She says, Hunter is making a run for Paradise, trying to get screen time. That's my hot take. That's funny. Hunter was kind of, fading into the background a little bit the last 2 weeks. So maybe he thought, maybe he thought if he spoke up a little bit more, he would get some of that screen time, and maybe he's the one here for the wrong reasons because he's trying to go to Paradise or be the Bachelor. So I like this turntables hot take, Miriam. I'm with you.
I do too. I completely agree. Anyone who sticks their nose in other people's business when the show's about you and that person finding love, you have to also question their intentions as well. And he took it upon himself to call that meeting and call out Thomas. He did want more camera time. He knew what he was doing in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Terrence said Carl clearly had nobody in mind, but you already know that he's going to take credit for the Thomas thing to look good, LOL. Terrence, I completely agree with you. I was basically saying something along these lines, it's going to conveniently line up with his false claim that was originally false, and then it's going to look like he was talking about Thomas the whole time, which kind of is the easy way out for Carl, but we know Carl's intentions were bad, obviously, since he kind of just made up a lie out of nowhere. And Katie asked, can you tell me who? And he's like, oh no, I'm not going to tell you right now, because he didn't know anyone. So it's just all silly games.
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely a right place, right time moment for him, I think. If he doesn't get called out already by the end of the rose ceremony, when Katie says there's some big twist coming and everyone is going to be pointing fingers at Carl. So we're still waiting to see that, the last half of that rose ceremony in that green dress. And I'm definitely looking forward to that one. All right. Tanya says Nick is an ex-clout chaser. That's very true. Like we said earlier, Nick always seems to find his way back onto the Bachelor screen, as irrelevant as he may be. But he's still a fun personality, one of those big names that we'll never forget from the Bachelor franchise. I'm interested to see what happens with him and Caitlyn when he's on, right? Because, they had a thing, or, he was on her season, or the other way around. I forget. But, they were a thing. And then also, when Blake comes to date Katie, like, are him and Tayshia gonna have an interaction? You know, like,
I
maybe
know,
not.
like all the ties are crossing over. It's weird. But yeah, Nick is a clout chaser. I mean, I'll give it to him. He's really good at staying relevant in Bachelor Nation. You know, only a couple do. And he's been very consistent over the past years.
Definitely. It's not easy to do either.
Mm-mm.
All right, you guys, looks like that is all we have time for today, but we love chatting with you, all things Bachelor Nation today. Of course, we're looking forward to Katie's season, episode 3 next Monday. We're going to be doing a live then, and of course, tons of coverage. So tune back in next week, and we're going to be so excited to chat more of this with all of you guys. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of those videos that we have coming up. As always, I'm your host, Gabby Gonta, and I was joined by Avery today. You can follow us at our social handles on the screen right now. You can come say hi, and we can chat Bachelor Nation on all platforms. It's going to be super fun. So again, thanks so much for tuning in, you guys, and we will see you next time.